I had spent 3 weeks in the Congo Basin, in the rainforest, with one job. And after all that time, I had nothing. My career-defining project was a dud, and that's how everything changed. I had a really urban upbringing, but I grew up loving wildlife shows. Being transported to those landscapes with wild animals was my absolute passion. About a decade after my first wilderness experience in Kenya, I had been studying large carnivores like bears in North America, and what I really wanted to do was expand and find my own research project that I would run with for the rest of my career. An opportunity came up to start a research project on lowland gorillas in the Congo Basin in Central Africa. It was important in the conservation context, but also a high-profile, really prestigious project that would allow me to be seen in conservation as an innovative leader. Before getting the green light to spearhead this project, I had to go to the Congo Basin and get some evidence of the existence of lowland gorillas in this forest. It was probably the most extreme environment I'd ever spent my time in. On one hand, it was thrilling, and on the other hand, we had no electricity, we had no running water, insects, snakes. My guide and I would carry machetes with us and essentially hack our way through the rainforest, listening for sounds and any kind of signs of lowland gorillas. There were sticks broken in certain ways that indicated the gorillas were there. There were sometimes handprints in the mud. We even found gorilla poop. And yet, with the density of the rainforest all around us, we couldn't see any gorillas. This was a problem because although evidence was there, I needed to really prove that there was a population of lowland gorillas living in that rainforest. After 3 weeks, as I was packing up to head home, I was thinking a lot about when I might return to try again. And what if that failed? I traveled home from that adventure feeling uncertain, insecure, and pretty down about it. I had never felt this way after the end of an expedition. I traveled directly to the research project I was working on in eastern Montana to study the movement and ecology of grizzly bears. I talked to my colleagues a lot about the Congo Basin, the ecology of the gorillas, and the protection of the ecosystems where they live. The connections were undeniable. We had an iconic animal species that was under threat and an ecosystem that needed to be protected. In a moment, I realized that my two projects were actually similar, and yet one was more accessible for me. Being able to do successful conservation of grizzly bears in eastern Montana right away would actually give us scientific information that could inform the conservation of lowland gorillas or other species around the world. For far too long, I was under the impression that I needed the prestige of a project in order to get the recognition from it. And in that moment, I realized that the recognition comes from the quality of the work. From that point on, I was able to engage in conservation research here in North America that does indeed inform other research around the world. And with that research and conservation success also came this incredible opportunity that matched my childhood dream. For over 60 years, we've explored stories of hope. I got a phone call asking me if I'd be interested in being the co-host of Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, Protecting the Wild, the new iteration of the show. Nothing would have changed if I hadn't understood that prestige does not denote value. I think that so many of us are socialized to believe that we should always choose something professional that yields the most prestige. If I'm being completely honest, there was a lot of ego that was involved. You know, although my ego was saying like, oh, you might get a lot of attention if you do this, what was in my heart was really saying, wild animals need protection. They need the work to be done so that we can save these species and these ecosystems. So much has changed for me when I was able to reimagine what impact looked like for me. It wasn't necessarily forging new pathways, but it was about the work and the impact of the work. What is prestige after all? It's very subjective, and it flows and it changes in different contexts. And really, we have to check in with ourselves to see how can we feel the most successful within ourselves when it comes to our work. And if it doesn't feel properly aligned, then it's probably not the right fit.